This is the top 5 meta loadouts in Warzone and Rebirth Island after the update. I know a ton of things got buffed and nerfed, so these are accounting for all the buffs and nerfs, and I just wanted to give you guys the absolute best in order. So, first thing I want to give you guys is the best overall long-range weapon. The Holger 26 is king. There's so many guns on here that are going to be absolutely viable, but for somebody who's either playing competitive or even just a casual player, this is the best option for you so you don't have to either burst fire or be extremely accurate with a sniper. The first thing you're going to want to put on is the ZM35 compensated flash hider for the shorter radar pings, vertical recoil, horizontal recoil, and firing aim stability. You lose some bullet velocity and aim down sight speed, but honestly, when you look at it, it's not really a big deal. A 5% decrease for the benefits you get with this particular attachment is so worth it. Next is the Holger factory barrel for the bullet velocity and range, recoil control, gun kick control at the cost of aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. This is fantastic for range. As you see, it gets a 20% increase for effective and minimum damage range and a 10% increase for bullet velocity. Now, you get a little bit more recoil control too, which is pretty awesome with a reduction of handling. That's not something you're going to notice. Now, real quick, if you guys love your appearance, I want you guys to comment a heart in the comment section down below and like this video. Next, put on the Brune Heavy support grip for gun kick control, aiming out of sway, horizontal recoil, and firing aim stability at the cost of aim down sight speed and vertical recoil. I went through every single underbarrel, and this is the best choice for the Holger 26. You can try it out for yourself, but trust me, this is the best option. Now, you guys see it gives an 11% increase in recoil gun kick and 8% increase for horizontal recoil, whereas the Brune pivot vertical grip, it is nice. It gives a 16% increase on recoil control and a 12% increase on vertical recoil, but I realized that the horizontal recoil was actually more beneficial, so the Brune Heavy was the best option. Next, I put on the Jack Glasses Optic. This is just optimal for me. If you guys want to use something else, feel free. I just thought this is the best choice overall. And finally, I put on the Ascent Lord stock for aiming out of sway, recoil control, gun kick control, and firing aim stability at the cost of sprint to fire speed, sprint speed, crouch movement speed, and aim walking speed. This thing is absolutely amazing. Increases the recoil gun kick by 18%, horizontal and vertical recoil by 7%. And although the mobility and handling goes down, I just can't wait to show you guys how lethal this class setup right here is. So we're going to go right into the firing range. I don't even want to waste time. We're going to show you guys the 3 plates, and just check this out. It takes literally no effort to actually use this weapon. Like, honestly, it's one of the best weapons in the game. And if you don't have this class setup, you're really going to miss out. A ton of people are just going to beat you in the battlefield, and you're going to be really disappointed. Next is the best close range, mid-range SMG in the game right now, the Superior 46. And this is a fantastic movement build for anybody that tries to be a movement king, whether you succeed or fail. This class is going to give you the best chance. Put on the ZM35 compensated flash hider for the shorter radar pings, vertical recoil, horizontal recoil, and firing aim stability. You lose some aim down sight speed and bullet velocity, but trust me, with this class setup, it does not matter. And this helps so much with the recoil control. I went through a lot of them: the sonic suppressor, the lock shot, the L4R flash hider, spiral. I would say the closest thing to this, if you don't want to lose any bullet velocity, would be the lock shot, but you are going to get that muzzle flash. So it's up to you, weigh your pros and cons. The spiral is actually pretty close as well. It gives a 13% increase across the board for recoil control. So if you want to try that out, feel free. You will have slower ADS speed though. Next, I put on the Zulu Ops 3 light barrel for the crouch movement speed and aim walking movement speed. This thing is actually insane. Now, I know you guys see the flinch resistance goes up by 12%. You're not going to notice that. Like, believe me, this is so good, especially with all the perks that are actually already built into Warzone. I don't think you're going to notice the flinch resistance. This helps the ADS movement speed by 11% and the crouch movement speed by 8%. It's such a big deal when you see the rest of the attachments. But on the XRK Edge BW4 hand stop for the aim walking speed, movement speed, aim down sight speed, and sprint to fire speed at the cost of aim walking steadiness and hip fire and tack stance spread. This helps the ADS move speed by another 7%, movement speed by 6%, crouch movement speed by 8%, ADS speed by 6%, and then sprint to fire speed by 5%. It is so awesome. The only thing that I would say might just be equal to it would be the DR6 hand stop, but it depends on what you want it for. Do you want it for more ADS speed, or do you want actual ADS movement speed? Put on the 40 round mag because this is just as much as you can possibly get. If I could get more, well, I would probably still stick with the 40 because this is actually pretty solid. And finally, I put on the Jack Cutthroat for aim walking speed, aim walking steadiness, and movement speed at the cost of aiming out sway, tack stance spread, recoil control, and gun kick control. This thing moves the ADS movement speed up 14%, the crouch movement speed up 4%, and then the movement speed up 6%. Now, the recoil control goes down a whopping 10%, but that's not something you're going to notice with this entire class setup. I can't wait to show you guys just how lethal this is. Now, this little gun right here packs a heavy punch. As you guys see, basically has no recoil. I try to avoid the long range gunfights just because I'm not super good with the long range gunfights. But I mean, you guys can, you still actually a very viable option. It's just like I try to avoid the super long gunfights. and try to stick it to the short to medium gunfight. So if you guys want to try out the long range, be my guest, but here's the entire class setup right here. It's absolutely amazing, and if you're not using this superior, you're going to be losing. Next is the strongest SMG by damage per bullet. It's the WSP9. This thing is absolutely lethal. Throwing the Zemin 35 compensated flash hider for the shorter radar pings, vertical recoil, horizontal recoil, and firing aim stability at the cost of aim down sight speed and bullet velocity. Trust me, this does not matter. Look at the damage. This thing is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Put on the Brune heavy support grip for gun kick control, aiming out sway, horizontal recoil, and firing aim stability at the cost of aim down sight speed and vertical recoil. This is the best option for the underbarrel, and I know that may be making you guys scratch your head a little bit, but trust me, with this build, you're going to need this. Throw on the 40 round mag because I just think this is the best possible choice. With 50, you basically double everything in the cons. It's just not worth it in my opinion. If you want the 10 extra bullets for all these cons, go ahead and put it on there. I just don't think it's the best option. Put on the Marauder grip for gun kick control, firing aim stability, and recoil control at the cost of aiming out of sway. It helps the recoil gun kick by 10% and the horizontal and vertical recoil by 7%, which is fantastic. And finally, we put on the no stock for sprint to fire speed, movement speed, aim walking speed, and aim down sight speed. This thing is absolutely insane. Look at all the positives of the mobility and handling. I know you guys see the recoil control reduction and it looks substantial, but when you guys check this out in the firing range, it's just so much different. So to show you guys how lethal this is, it's super easy to actually use this weapon. The recoil is super low. The only thing I try to avoid is the super long range engagements like this. I probably would try to avoid just because it's kind of not a clear line of sight for me. But if you guys actually can handle the line of sight at long range, be my guest because it's still extremely powerful. I try to keep to the short to medium range engagements, and here's the entire class setup for the WSP9. It really is one of the most perfect SMGs in the game. Now, you guys know they nerfed my baby, the Kar 98K, but if you guys wanted to feel like the regular Kar 98K before the nerf, then this is the best class setup for you. Put on the Sonic Suppressor L for being undetectable by the radar, bullet velocity and damage range at the cost of sprint to fire speed, recoil control, and aim walking steadiness. This helps the range by 5% on effective and minimum, and 13% by bullet velocity. Put on the 7.62 long barrel for the bullet velocity and damage range at the cost of sprint to fire speed, hip fire attack stance spread, and aim down sight speed. This helps the effective and minimum by 12% and the bullet velocity by 15%, which is fantastic. But we're not done there. We're going to put on the high grain rounds for bullet velocity and damage range at the cost of recoil control. This helps by 15% across the board for range. Putting on the SPX 86.6 times for the optic, unless you guys want to put on the Ranger Caller V3.4 optic. I've noticed I'm way more successful with the SPX than I am with the range caller. Completely up to you though. Finally, we're putting on the no stock for aim walking speed, sprint to fire speed, movement speed, and aim down sight speed. This thing is absolutely extremely helpful and extremely powerful with the range and accuracy that you absolutely need. So just showing you guys in action how amazing this is. It really doesn't take much effort to actually use this weapon. It's super easy, super powerful, and a super easy line of sight. So make sure you guys copy this class setup down, especially if you want to keep using the Kar 98K just like you did before the update. Finally, one of the most statistically meta weapons in the game right now, the SVA 545. I do love this AR. I think it's a very powerful AR. I just think there are some people out there that aren't going to enjoy using the burst fire version just because they're going to have to keep tapping their gun. So it's not really noob friendly. But if you guys want to use this, here it is. Throw on the VT7 Spirit Fire Suppressor for being undetectable by the radar, recoil control with bullet velocity and range at the cost of aim down sight speed, aim walking steadiness, and sprint to fire speed. It helps by 5% for effective and minimum damage range and 8% for bullet velocity by also helping vertical and horizontal recoil by 7%. Put on the STV Precision Barrel for aiming out of sway, bullet velocity and range, gun kick control, and recoil control at the cost of aim down sight speed, hip fire attack stance spread, aim walking speed, and sprint to fire speed. This helps by 13% for effective damage range, 12% for minimum damage range, and 15% by bullet velocity, while also helping 8% for horizontal and vertical recoil and 4% for recoil control, which is fantastic. I put on the Jack Glasses Optic. This is my preference. Whatever you want to use it, completely up to you. 60 round mag is absolutely amazing. If you want to use the 45 to have less cons, that's fine. And finally, the 545 high grain rounds for more bullet velocity and damage range by 15% across the board for the range. When you put this in the burst fire mode, it's an extremely powerful weapon. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's actually one of the most technically meta weapons in the game right now. I can't really argue with it. Like, you go by statistics, and you go by like what people are using the most and how powerful this is. This actually really does get the job done. So you guys have to make sure it's in burst fire mode though, and here's the entire class setup. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this class setup video. If you did, let me know which gun was your favorite.